Coming up on This Week in Space, Russia breaks a launch pad and pulls a cosmonaut from his next space flight. Time flies faster on Mars, and billionaire Jared Isaacman is once again running for NASA's top job. And Mike Wall from Space.com is here to explain it to us. Check it out.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust. This is Twit.
This is This Week in Space, episode number 188, recorded on December 5th, 2025. A new NASA leader rises? Well, hello and welcome to This Week in Space, the A New NASA Leader Rises question mark edition. I'm Tarek Malik, editor-in-chief of Space.com. I'm flying solo this week because Rod Pyle is off on a spacewalk somewhere in the world, and I hope he sends a postcard, but it's all right because I'm not by myself, dear listeners. This week we're going to be joined by friend of the show, Mike Wall, and friend of me as well, I hope, our spaceflight and tech editor at Space.com, because we are going to talk about billionaire Jared Isaacman's return to the Senate hearing room to try and secure NASA's top job. But before we start, please don't forget to do us a solid, as Rod likes to say, and make sure to like, subscribe, and all of the cool podcast stuff, because we count on your support to make all of this fun space stuff happen, and of course keep the lights on and those electrons pumping. So, and now, of course, we're not going to delay it. We're on to a space joke, the Tarek J. Malik edition, and this one I found online from The Adventures of Parson Carson, who is apparently a priest who likes space jokes. And I'm going to throw this one to Mike. Hey, Mike.
Yes, Tarek?
What does a space turkey say?
I don't know. What does a space turkey say?
Hubble, hubble. Right? Like gobble, gobble instead of gobble.
Yeah.
Got it? That's all you all get. It's like Thanksgiving, and we've all got like Thanksgiving karma, turkey karma. That's all you get. Wow. I didn't even get like a laugh track for that. Come on, John. Come on.
I actually heard some laughter in the background.
Would you rather me give you this? I'm not good to you. That's only reserved for Rod. Okay, only for Rod.
All right. I've heard that some people want to turn me into a turkey when it comes time to jokes. Then you see what I did there? It's a callback. It's a call when it's joke time on the show. But you can all help. You can make it better, because you can send us your worst or best or most indifferent space jokes at twis@twit.tv. That's TWIS at twit.tv. Just like all those other talented people did before me, so that I don't have to go fish for some stinkers myself. I thought it was great. Thank you, Parson Carson. And now it's on to headline news. Headline news. I'm pretty sure I got it there. So, all right, Mike. Thank you very much.
I feel so special.
I know. How come Mike gets applause? I didn't get applause, did I? No.
He's the guest.
All right. Well, our top story of the week is actually your top story of the week, which is why we wanted you to join us at the top. And that is, what's the deal with this cosmonaut that got kicked off the SpaceX Crew 12 flight, right? What's going on there?
Yeah, it's still like a little bit mysterious, but he has been kicked off. That has been confirmed by the Russian Space Agency. Oleg Artemyev is his name.
Artemyev.
Yeah.
Okay. And
he's a spaceflight veteran. He's flown to the space station 3 different times, I believe, and he's so he's pretty high profile. Like, I think he actually holds a post in the Duma as well, I think, back in Russia. So he's a pretty big name in spaceflight, and he was supposed to fly on SpaceX's Crew 12 mission to the space station, which is supposed to launch early next year. But then he was like abruptly pulled from the flight, and he was replaced by another cosmonaut. And we don't really know all the details, except there was like a Russian language media report that said he had been caught doing something while training at SpaceX's headquarters in California. And it's murky, like we asked NASA what happened, we asked SpaceX what happened, they didn't respond, or they didn't tell us. They said, talk to the Russians, basically. And what the Russian media kind of reports are saying is that he like photographed some of the hardware at SpaceX HQ, and he wasn't supposed to. And it's just really hard to know what's going on, whether it was nefarious or not, or it was just a simple mistake. Like, there's no accusation. I mean, it's not like the Fed swooped in and like grabbed him for trying to steal all these proprietary secrets or something like that. I mean, it may have been so simple that he just he didn't know he wasn't supposed to be photographing things in that particular area. SpaceX does have some proprietary concerns about their tech and stuff like that. So it's still kind of up in the air, but we do know that something happened and he was pulled from the flight. Kind of, it's like pretty odd that he get pulled this close to the launch, which could be in just a couple months. So that does suggest that something weird did actually happen.
I have heard of like NASA being hacked and information being stolen in the past, but I've never heard of like an astronaut or a cosmonaut like being the one guilty of the crime. Have you ever heard of that before? Because
no.
When you pitched it, it sounded absolutely crazy to me.
Yeah, no, and that's sort of, I never heard of it either. And there are all these stories, and I mean, most of the time you hear about, there are some high profile ones where it's like, like at like NASA, like I think it might have been Langley or something like that, like a few years back, like a Chinese spy left like a thumb drive in the parking lot or something, and somebody found it and put it into their laptop, and it was that enabled like like a big hack and intrusion. There are stories like
I remember the teenager that hacked NASA just because he could, and then he got caught, right?
There are stories, but if you want to try to hack, I mean, it seems like you'd go the low profile route like that, right? Not use like one of your nation's most famous cosmonauts on a very public in a like while he's at SpaceX HQ and all that stuff. It seems more likely to me that this was just like a misunderstanding probably, and not that he was actually on a secret mission to photograph SpaceX tech and bring it back to Moscow. But that's speculation. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. And I guess that for our listeners who may not be aware, there's like a lot of rules obviously that are in place when you have people from different countries visiting when it comes to space technology. It's why we almost didn't see the live stream of Artemis 1, because Boeing was saying that there were ITAR restrictions, these legal restrictions about what kind of technology can be transmitted and shared. And that's what I thought this was initially, but it doesn't really sound like it is that from what we've been hearing, or any other kind of classified type of thing. It might just be SpaceX is a private company. Don't go taking pictures of their private stuff, kind of.
Yeah, that's possibly. I mean, it seems like that's more likely that it's an objection by SpaceX and their protocols were breached, not necessarily kind of U.S. kind of national security protocols. We don't really know though. That's the thing, because people are being pretty quiet about it. It is kind of, I mean, like I'm sure none of the sides want this story to be publicized. It's pretty embarrassing for the Russians, obviously, have to pull one of their high-profile cosmonauts from a high-profile mission like this. And yeah, I mean, everybody else involved is probably just like, they don't want to publicize what exactly happened, have to explain it. So yeah, I mean, like, who knows?
Well, speaking about embarrassing moments for the Russians, this all of this came out like just after Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving had its own bit of snags for Russia. They launched a new crew to the International Space Station on a Soyuz rocket, but then something unexpected happened. Can you let people know what happened there?
Yeah, so it was a successful launch. There, it sent 2 cosmonauts and a NASA astronaut to the space station. It all worked out. They got there right on schedule on Thanksgiving. But shortly after the actual launch at the pad, this old pad at Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, which is the only pad that supports Russian launches of crew and cargo to the space station. There's sort of this like mobile servicing platform that goes under like the rockets there.
It's a 20-ton concrete platform, right?
And it kind of slides under the rocket when they need to service it pre-launch, and then it's supposed to like slide back afterward to get out of the way. And what happened was it like fell into the flame trench after launch, shortly after the rocket launched, and you can see it. There are photos of it like lying in pieces, all mangled at the bottom of the flame trench after the launch.
Yeah, we have a photo on line 23 there, John. So
yeah. So it seems like somebody messed up. Maybe they didn't put like a braking pin in place that kept it from rolling back down into the pit, or maybe that pin broke or something. If something happened, like we don't know, something that happened that wasn't supposed to happen, and this platform just tumbled into the pit. And so it takes that pad out of commission for the near future. We don't know how long. Russia has said, we can get spare parts from somewhere and get this back up and running. They didn't really put a timeline on it. I mean, I've like read a few different things, anywhere from like 3 months to a year, or maybe even more, to get that pad back up and running, to get that platform kind of like either spruced up or to replace it somehow. But it is kind of a big deal, because this is the only pad that the Russians use to launch things, both people and cargo, to the space station. So yeah, I mean, like, what does that mean for the space station? Well, it's probably not a disaster because we actually do have launch capability from the U.S. Obviously, I mean, we're just talking about like this Crew 12 mission from SpaceX, which will take 4 people to the space station early next year. There are also cargo missions from SpaceX. They like launch Dragon cargo missions. There are a couple other cargo craft that launch. There's like Northrop Grumman Cygnus, which is an American craft. There's like a new Japanese freighter that just debuted.
HTVX.
HTVX, yeah. But yeah, I mean, there are only 2 crew capable kind of spacecraft that go to the space station these days, and it's Soyuz and Dragon, and Soyuz is very much in like limbo right now. So
yeah, it's just, I should mention, by the way, to everybody that the bulk of these stories, because I'm biased and I'm in charge this week, come from space.com, but we do have a follow-up on this story from the New York Times, and John, that's line 22, because Russia has this long storied history when it comes to space, and Rod could like regale us with all of their records. You know, first in space with Sputnik, first in space with people with Gagarin, first woman in space, first space station, like all of these things, first living creature, right? With Laika, the poor space dog. You know,
dying creature too.
Let's have a moment for Laika.
Yeah, very sad.
Okay, all right. So storied space history. Right. And then now here they are 60 plus years later. They only have 1 launch pad that can launch people. At least the United States has 2, right? They've got the Cape Canaveral pad and SpaceX's KSC pad.
Yeah.
And it's out of commission because they broke it now. And I'm just wondering what that says about them. I mean, Russia's fighting a war with Ukraine, right? And then they've had I guess a history of mishaps. They had the Soyuz with the leak on it. I think there was like one time where they had to go out and cut off an antenna because they were worried about it with like some weird interference on a spacewalk. It just seems like there's been a lack of investment in that industry that has left it in the state that it's in now.
Well, that's kind of the like thrust of the past few decades after the kind of fall of the Soviet Union. You know, I mean, we like as that New York Times article noted, it's been like 4 decades or so since they've had like a successful planetary mission. They like just tried to like land a lander on the moon not too long ago, and it crashed. It is just one of those things, you know, it was a tough transition from the independent Russia to the independent Russia from the Soviet Union in the early 90s. And there's been, I don't know, maybe like a breakdown of the expertise, or some of those people just kind of, I mean, after like the Soviet Union fell, people scattered and went to different places. I mean, I'm not a historian either, so I can't speculate on the causes, but in the past 3 decades or so, you have seen like the kind of storied old Soviet space program kind of flounder while the rest of the world has kind of moved on. And you know, I mean, China is now the United States' chief rival in space. A lot of people would say, I think most space experts, when they talk about who do we have to fear losing out on in the final frontier, it's China. I mean, so yeah, you've seen kind of like the rise of China in concert with, it's not like the fall of the Russian space program. They're still very good at certain things, but they certainly aren't making the same strides China is, or at the same rate.
Well, so Russia is taking a break from human spaceflight. Probably a good reason that NASA has these other capabilities with SpaceX and Boeing to what they are. But we got to take a break too, and we're going to come right back after that. So we'll see you then.
Hey there, it's Leo Laporte, host of so many shows on the Twit network, thinking about advertising in 2026. We host a network of the most trusted shows in tech, each featuring authentic post-read ads delivered by Micah Sargent, my co-host, and of course me. Our listeners don't just hear our ads, they really believe in them because we've established a relationship with them. They trust us. According to Twit fans, they've purchased several items advertised on the Twit network because they trust our team's expertise in the latest technology. If Twit supports it, they know they can trust it. In fact, 88% of our audience has made a purchase because of a Twit ad. Over 90% help make IT and tech buying decisions at their companies. These are the people you want to talk to. Ask David Coover. He's the senior strategist at ThreatLocker. David said, Twit's hosts are some of the most respected voices in technology and cybersecurity, and their audience reflects that same level of expertise and engagement. It's the engagement that really makes a difference to us. With every campaign, you're going to get measurable results. You get presence on our show episode pages. In fact, we even have links right there in the RSS feed descriptions. Plus, our team will support you every step of the way. So, if you're ready to reach the most influential audience in tech, email us, partner@twit.tv, or head to twit.tv/advertise. I'm looking forward to telling our qualified audience about your great product.
Speaking of China, Mike, and the rise of that nation's space program, they had a bit of a snag, but also a success this week too, because they tried to launch a reusable rocket for the first time and had some mixed results. Did you follow that story? Or
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's probably more of a success than most people are kind of viewing it as. It's a Chinese company called Land Space, and they've been developing this rocket that looks a lot like the Falcon 9 from SpaceX. It's got 9 engines in the first stage, and its first stage is designed to be reusable. And they actually launched it for the first time just a couple days ago, and it successfully reached orbit with the second stage, and the first stage tried to come back to Earth for a landing like the Falcon 9 first stage does. It blew up, but it made it most of the way down. It actually was on course, like where it like actually exploded was not too far from the designated landing pad, and it almost made it to the ground. So yeah, it's an explosion. It didn't land successfully, but it was a first try, and it actually reached orbit, and it almost kind of stuck the landing.
I think we've got John. I think in that story there's like a little video in there too that we can see. It's an expandable X version. So. But it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy because you see it coming back.
Yeah, no, it's like a SpaceX launch. we're all used to seeing this, but it's only SpaceX that can do this now. And now there's actually this Chinese company that's trying to do it too. So it's a first try. It's a failure on the landing, but I wouldn't doubt that they're able to stick the landing relatively soon.
I think SpaceX tried. That was the sound. That was the sound because SpaceX tried like 3 times to land before their first success, and that was when they switched from they were targeting the ocean ones first, and then they decided to try to do land landing, and they nailed the land landing on the first attempt.
Yeah, I'm just looking that up. How many times they actually failed during landing tries? They had their first successful landing try was December 2015. I remember that it was a land landing, but they had tried a few times before that and failed. So that's rocketry, right? That's trying. You try, and if you fail, you figure out what went wrong, and you try it again. That's been the SpaceX approach, and it's worked very well for them.
It's very interesting, though, how similar, like you were talking about, how similar this rocket. I'm going to pronounce it wrong. Zhuk 3. Zhuk 3. So I apologize to everyone everywhere about that. Brett Tingley, friend of the show, managing editor, he taught me how to say it, and I come.
Well, he used to live in China.
Yeah, that's right. Right. So that was that land space rocket. That's great. I have one science story I wanted to touch on before we move on to our main section, and that is, for folks wondering, time travels faster when you're on Mars, and I thought this was fascinating. Mona Ravasetti at space.com brought this one to us, and it was a new study by scientists who realized that on average, time passes on Mars 477 millionths of a second faster every day, or I should say Sol, right? Because that's Mars, than it does on Earth. All because of Albert Einstein's theory of general relativity. And I could show you all of the equations, but I'm going to be really honest, everybody, I don't understand them, right? And but it has to do with just the gravitational vagaries of 3 or 4 other bodies there, so that make it the way that those gravitational influences of the Earth and the Sun and Mars and its moons all interact. These scientists Neil Ashby and Bajunath Patla at the National Institute of Standards and Technology, those are the folks that tell you if an inch is an inch and a mile is a mile, right? And a second is a second, but not on Mars apparently, because it's 477 millionths faster or shorter or something like that. So
that's what relativity says, right? Time is all relative. I mean, people who have seen Interstellar, when you go to a planet that's close to a supermassive black hole, time slows down, right? Because you're in the presence of an immense gravitational field. Just like all the sci-fi stories, if you're traveling at an appreciable kind of fraction of the speed of light, time is slower for you, right? So, like if you're in a spaceship and you go 50% the speed of light and you come back to Earth, like everybody on Earth is like way older than you are. Time has not moved as fast for you. So this is like one aspect of that, but on a much like lower level, obviously.
I feel like the reverse. I read a story like this, I feel like I'm way older than everybody else. I have to tell you. They said that the Patlow, the scientist, said that there's this 3-body problem like that's really hard to solve, right? People have been trying to wrangle with it with gravity and planets and whatever forever. And so they're saying that this is actually a 4-body problem, which makes it even harder. There's Mars, which we're talking about. There's the sun, there's Earth, and then there's the moon, and like all of those things working like in like trying to calculate all of this. That's what like gets complicated when you factor in the distance between Mars and the sun and the eccentricity of its orbit, which makes the variations in time larger. It's just crazy that the time can move differently on a planet. And what makes Mars so special to me? That's the question. Because if it flows differently on Mars, does that mean that it's different on like Jupiter? Or,
yes. Yeah.
or God forbid Uranus, right? So no.
Yeah,
thank you for laughing, Mike. Thank you.
No,
it's nice to know that we have the same sense of humor.
What's kind of interesting about the study too is that they were talking.
John is shaking his head at my Uranus joke right there. So, sorry, go ahead. I interrupted you, Mike.
No, I was just saying, this has practical applications as the authors noted in the study. I mean, stuff like GPS and for comms and stuff like that, like from planet to planet, like you have to have the timing down really like to the microsecond or like have an adjustment if you know the timing is off. So
that's right.
Actually knowing what the difference is on Mars, how much faster it moves on Mars, will allow you to make those adjustments to kind of mount better Mars missions, which, I mean, it doesn't make a difference now. We have just a few operational spacecraft at Mars, but if you have like whole fleets and say we have like a human city on Mars and we have all this infrastructure there and you have GPS there for people, then that's really going to make a difference that you know what the difference is in the like how fast time travels on Mars compared to on Earth, and you can make the adjustments for like interplanetary communication and all that stuff to keep the civilization going. Yeah,
NASA does want to build a Mars telecommunications orbiter, and I guess Elon wants to send like a bajillion people to Mars on starships, right? So speaking of starships, we're going to get to that in like a minute, everybody. But, we've got a big meaty section coming up ahead of us. So I think, John, what I'd like to do is let's just throw it to a break a little bit early so that we can talk all about Jared Isaacman, his bid to be the leader of NASA and a billionaire and the guy that we all pay every time we get a cup of coffee. So we're going to go to that right now. We'll come right back.
Hey, everybody. Leo Laporte here, and I'm going to bug you one more time to join Club Twit. If you're not already a member, I want to encourage you to support what we do here at Twit. 25% of our operating costs comes from membership in the club. That's a huge portion, and it's growing all the time. That means we can do more. We can have more fun. You get a lot of benefits, ad-free versions of all the shows. You get access to the Club Twit Discord and special programming like the keynotes from Apple and Google and Microsoft and others that we don't stream otherwise in public. Please join the club. If you haven't done it yet, we'd love to have you. Find out more at twit.tv/clubtwit. And thank you so much.
Okay, Mike, I forgot to introduce you to everybody. But for folks who are just joining us right now, I know John is like poking his finger at me. I was going to have you introduce yourself to everybody in this section, but I just roped you into headlines.
You're just too excited.
I pulled a Rod
talk about
is what I did. So Rod, it's harder than it looks. You make it look easy, my friend, if you're listening out there. So don't you can't see John shaking his head, but he's shaking his head in approval. Give folks a reminder of who you are so that they know the expertise from which you speak.
I'm the spaceflight and tech editor at space.com. I've been here for a long time, since like 2010, I think now. So I've been here for about 15 years. And I occasionally come on this podcast.
And Mike's first space shuttle mission that he ever covered was, or that saw it launch, was STS-135.
Which was the final one.
Which was the last one, which launched on the first attempt, and which drove me crazy because everyone else had the same experience, and I had to wait 2 weeks in Florida for my first one, sleeping on a friend's couch because I couldn't stay in the hotel anymore. So it's
I just have good karma, I guess.
I know. You got to come to all the launches, you know? So thank you. So 10 plus years, folks, of experience doing this, or 15. My gosh, I can't do math. 15. This is why I'm not an astronaut. So
time travels faster on Earth than Tarek thought it did.
Jared Isaacman is back in the news. Billionaire, philanthropist, super cool guy, pilot, supersonic pilot. It's got the world's largest private Space Force. I kind of teed it up earlier, but he founded Shift4, the payment company, which is that, you know, they make that device at the coffee shop that you tap, or at the airport with your credit card that processes the payment. And
I actually just recently found out what Shift4 means. If you do Shift4 on your computer, that's the $, right?
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's all about the dollars. So my mind is blown. Yeah. So, well, he took that joke and cashed it all the way to the bank, because that guy's a billionaire and has flown to space twice on SpaceX missions. First with the Inspiration 4 flight, and then again with Polaris Dawn, and now missions that he financed by himself. By the way, he also owns the world's largest private air force, and I've read that they use those jets to train military pilots on too, as well. And they do air shows and stunts, and he flies them. His call sign is Rook, by the way. So very cool guy, very nice. I've spoken to him a total of 1 time in person. But Jared, if you're listening, you are always invited to come on the show. So. Yeah. So give us the skinny. So what happened this week, and why is it different, right? Because I feel like we've been on this merry-go-round before.
Well, it's the second time for him, because he was officially nominated for like the post of NASA chief, I think on Inauguration Day, when Trump was. It was one of the first things he did was say, you know, this is my choice for NASA administrator back in January. And he had a confirmation hearing, or rather nomination hearing, in the Senate on April 9th, I believe it was, and that went pretty well. And he was sort of he looked set to be confirmed in like the first week of June. Yeah. But on May 31st, Trump made an announcement that he was pulling his nomination. He cited a couple of reasons. You know, he said he just recently learned that Isaacman had donated to like Democratic politicians in the past. And he also said he was worried about the alleged close relationship between Isaacman and SpaceX chief Elon Musk. And said that could be a conflict of interest, and those are the reasons that he gave for pulling the nomination.
Those are the reasons that he gave, but this all happened right coincidentally after relations between him and Elon Musk soured. Yeah, and they got in a big old tiff on the computer, fight. Right?
Yeah, that was well documented, and there, yeah. So I mean, we can't know what the real reasons were, if that's the extent of it, but that's like those are the reasons President Trump gave. But then he had a change of heart in like early November and renominated him. Like, again, we're not sure what changed, what information came to light, or how his decision making kind of evolved. And so like that he came and just did his second nomination hearing like this, I guess on Wednesday, on the 3rd of December. And again, it went pretty well. It's just pretty. It was surprising when the nomination was pulled on May 31st, because Isaacman, like as you're saying, he's got a lot of spaceflight experience. He's actually commanded 2 private astronaut missions, and he's like very well respected in the spaceflight community. He seems to actually care about a lot of this stuff, and it seemed like he had like a lot of like kind of like bipartisan support and support from the spaceflight community, both industry and people at NASA and stuff like that. So it was just really surprising when it got pulled. But you know, it's like Washington. There's lots of like maneuvering and lots of stuff we're not privy to. What's going on, power plays and stuff. So we don't really know. It was just sort of like, whoa, he got pulled, and now he's back, and it seems like he's on target to get confirmed again. But yeah, I mean, like wait and see. And it's just like you never know what's going to happen, as we saw the first time around. And
of course, right now, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy and see, he's a what was he? He was a reality star, right?
He was on Real World Boston. Yeah.
There you go. There we go. Championship lumberjack.
He is.
competitor.
He's a timber sports all-star. Yes.
There you go. So he's been running NASA kind of on the side while also running the transportation department. He also had a big fight with Elon Musk, I believe, earlier over Artemis 3, right? So.
Yes. So there's all this drama swirling around everywhere. So yeah,
I love it. I love the tea, right?
Yeah, so there was a fight between those two. Like a couple of months ago, Duffy said that he wasn't satisfied with the pace of Starship development. That's the giant SpaceX mega rocket that's going to be the lander for Artemis 3 to put astronauts down on the moon in 2027, 2028-ish. He publicly said he wasn't happy with the pace of the development of Starship, wasn't sure it was going to be ready. So he said we should reopen the kind of competition for the landing contract for Artemis 3. And that made Elon Musk very upset. And he called him Sean Dummy and a bunch of other stuff. Talked about he's got a 2-digit IQ, all this stuff, this kind of tweet storm that we're used to seeing from him when he gets upset, Elon Musk. And so, yeah, they obviously there has been friction between those two. And obviously there is a relationship between Isaacman and Musk. People have brought up concerns about it. Isaacman has always said it's a business relationship, which is undeniable. He's bought 2 flights from SpaceX. So
he's bought 5 flights, right? Well, 5. He bought 4 Polaris flights and the first true. Inspiration one.
And Inspiration 4, but we're not sure if those additional 3 will happen if he's like the NASA chief or whatever. But he'd have to put them on hold. Yeah, he's flown on 2 of them that he has bought and paid for. But he's always said that there's no personal relationship with him. It's the same relationship that NASA has with SpaceX when they buy flights from them and so on. So,
Senator Ed Markey, you had a story on this in space.com. This is line 37, John. You had a story on this, I think just yesterday, or about Elon, Senator Markey. He keeps asking.
Yeah, no.
He asked this. He really pressed Isaacman. It was uncomfortably long in April, where he kept asking him over and over again, was Elon Musk in the room when Trump offered him the position the first time? And he said, in probably as many ways as the human brain can comprehend, that he accepted the job from the president, it was just from the president that he was talking to, but he was, but not saying anything about anyone anywhere that was anywhere.
Yeah, he danced around the question. He said, I was talking to the president of the United States. My interview was with the president-elect and all this, because this is about a conversation that happened in December 2024, late 2024, before he was inaugurated.
I tell you, it's like Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, man, the way that he pulled that off. So, so clearly, Markey was prepared for that in this hearing and got his answer finally, right? He asked him again.
He didn't get the answer. He asked him again. It's all very strange, it seems pretty obvious to people listening that Musk probably was in the room, and we got a few more details. In the second hearing this past Wednesday, Isaacman said, the interview he had with Trump in December or late November, whichever it was in a ballroom type setting. So there were lots of people in the room, and he's not going to say who it was because it wouldn't be fair to all those people in the room to bring them into this, because it was just with him and Trump. So I would think, as a reasonable person, if somebody won't say whether Elon was in the room, he probably was, because if he wasn't, then you just say it. But I don't know. It's just weird. It's weird to be so fixated on it on the one hand from Markey's perspective, and it's also just kind of odd not to just say, yes, he was in the room, but there were 1,000 other people in the room, so it wasn't a big deal. It's just one of those little quirks of this story that there's this back and forth between them that will not end, apparently.
I think Markey's concerns is that there could be some kind of conflict of interest, because he would be the leader of NASA, but he's also been a customer of SpaceX, which is one of NASA's biggest contractors. He made those conflict of interest kind of concerns very clear. He said, I have conflict of interest concerns. Okay, all right. I'm sorry. I was trying to
and he asked Isaacman how much he paid Musk for the space flights, right? And we didn't get an answer, apparently because there's an NDA involved. Maybe there's a non-disclosure agreement. But then Markey asked Isaacman if he would ask to be released from the NDA if he is confirmed as NASA chief, and Isaacman said he would have no problem with asking to be released from the NDA. So, I don't know. It's I don't know if any of that will actually come to pass, and he will
He
get.
did say it cost hundreds of millions of dollars. Is that what he did say? So, but less than the 250 million that he raised for St. Jude's Hospital.
Yeah. That was from Markey. Markey asked if it was over like 100 million, 200 million, and we didn't hear from Isaacman. All he said was like it wasn't cheap, that he didn't get a discount from SpaceX, and that they actually raised more money for charity than he paid. So, yeah,
that's great. That's great. Well, I got more questions for Mike about Isaacman, but he does seem like he's got a lot of support, both from these lawmakers as well as from and I'm going to ask you about that in a bit. But first, let's go to a quick break. I had a brain freeze, because apparently I'm lost in space. We'll have a quick break and then we'll be right back. So.
Hi there, Leo Laporte here. I just wanted to let you know about some of the other shows we do on this network. You probably already know about This Week in Tech. Every Sunday, I bring together some of the top journalists in the tech field to talk about the tech stories. It's a wonderful chance for you to keep up on what's going on with tech, plus be entertained by some very bright and fun minds. I hope you'll tune in every Sunday for This Week in Tech. Just go to your favorite podcast client and subscribe. This Week in Tech from the Twit Network. Thank you.
All right, Mike. So let's get to the meat and potatoes about Jared Isaacman. So we know about his background. Guy loves space, is super, super wealthy, put that wealth to both professional use to make all sorts of entrepreneur things, raised lots of money with a passion project for St. Jude's, and then of course flew his private missions to space. And he financed the first private spacewalk. We forgot to mention that at the outset. So he's done a spacewalk as well.
Yep.
Which was actually pretty exciting to watch, even if they didn't float all the way outside. So what really, I guess, drives a lot of the support for Jared that maybe we didn't see for acting administrator Sean Duffy or others? I mean, I think 36, 39 astronauts signed on to say that they really love him. A lot of industry companies signed on to say that they really loved him ahead of these hearings this week. What is it about him that has kind of really put the support firmly behind him in what seems like a bipartisan way there?
Well, I think, he like checks a lot of boxes that he really seems to genuinely care about spaceflight and exploration. He's a very smart and accomplished guy. Like, as you noticed, he actually founded Shift 4 when he was like 16, I believe. 16?
Yeah. Can you imagine?
He like loves space flight. He's a private astronaut. He's been to space. He is very thoughtful. He has real ideas about things and cares about them. He puts things like out on Twitter, and he engages with people. He engages with the community and has ideas about things. He seems like a genuine, sincere person. Mm-hmm. And so, like, across the kind of spectrum of people, he's an entrepreneur and a billionaire. And so that appeals to a lot of people who know, well, he knows how to get things done. He is very smart and knows how things work in the real world, but he also has spaceflight experience. So he has a genuine passion for space and all that stuff, which appeals to the spaceflight community.
And has been through the actual training, right? Because he commanded those missions. So.
Well, yeah. And I mean, not to pile on Sean Duffy. I don't know Sean Duffy at all, but he's not a spaceflight person, right? He got this job. He has no experience in spaceflight. That's not his fault, but he was tapped for the job. So just as as a contrast with Isaacman, it's somebody who is the Secretary of Transportation, who was given the NASA interim chief job by Trump. And then you compare that with Isaacman, who is somebody who has been to space and cares about it a lot and is like a private astronaut and has all these ideas. So it's just a different level of kind of experience and like commitment, I think, which people like really see with Jared Isaacman.
I was very struck in his comments. He had prepared comments that you can, I think you can read them online.
Yeah.
Where he was really approaching NASA from a very balanced point of view, right? You would think that someone like Jared Isaacman, big hardware guy, has flown in space, really, I think he had bought the first crewed flight on Starship as part of the Polaris program. That was one of the flights. It was supposed to be the last one. And so that he would be approaching NASA from a very space flight oriented. I'm speaking as like a spaceflight person. I was the rocket ship person at space.com at the beginning, right? And I see everything as like, if it looks like a nail, everything looks like a nail if you're a hammer. So, but he seemed like to have a very like wide and what I'm trying to say is like a wide approach to NASA. He talked about the importance of the science and keeping things funded over time. He talked about the centers. I think he was asked at one point directly about the Goddard Space Flight Center and its role, because we've written about that a lot at space.com and what's going on there with budget cuts and layoffs and building closures and stuff like that. And he really seemed to be taking like a balanced approach. That's the word, balanced, to what the end results need to be to have a successful space program there.
Yeah, no, he definitely has ideas about that. He is like if he's confirmed, he will be constrained by whatever budget NASA gets. That's not up to him. He can fight for certain things, fight for more money, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he'll get it. So his power to control what is coming down the pipe for NASA funding wise is not great. But he's already talked about some of his priorities, and there's this document that he wrote, Project Athena, I guess.
Yes, which was I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, so that kind of talks about what his ideas and priorities might be, and that's something that was apparently leaked by some of the political operatives who maybe didn't want him to become like NASA chief or get renominated. It's all very murky, but it's this like 62-page document it's this like kind of ever-evolving document. He said in the most recent nomination hearing that it's like not a final thing. He's always amending it as he thinks about things and new information comes to light. But it's kind of this document that outlines his priorities, his ideas for how NASA should move in the future and what he may do if he's confirmed. But it's not like a policy document per se. It's like a list of ideas and stuff like that. And that like tells us a little bit about what he thinks. And there are some controversial things in there.
What are some of the positives and what are some of the controversial things that were in that report that you?
Well, I think some of the controversial things are like he comes from the business community, so he says in there some things about just kind of doing more offloading of certain types of Earth science observation stuff to private satellites or to non-NASA satellites, buying Earth science data from other satellites as opposed to launching new NASA missions to do that, and that's a way that's neither positive nor negative in an objective sense. It depends on your perspective. It's like a way to cut costs while potentially getting some of that same data is one way to look at it. If NASA doesn't have to spend money on building a new, like just kind of climate change mission, but can instead outsource that to a company or to multiple companies that already have satellites like in orbit or will build them, then that could be viewed as a positive. But if you're somebody who thinks that, we need dedicated missions to do this, and it's NASA's expertise that can get the best data, so we need to do that, then that would be a negative, right? Mm-hmm. So, but he has ideas like that, ways to cut costs. He's very into tech advancement. One of the things in there is like we need to develop like nuclear electric propulsion, that sort of thing. So just ways to prioritize developing new propulsion technologies that will help keep the U.S. kind of moving forward and being like kind of the top space nation in the world. He's very into how can we get that tech advancement going and keep it going.
Yeah, I have like a burning question about China and the United States on the moon, and I'm going to ask it after we take an early break right now. So let's do that, and then we're going to come right back to it. Okay, so you just said I was going to ask you all about Project Athena, and we know like the pros and the cons for Jared Isaacman, but I do know that like the big question that has been on like the Congress's mind has been, is the United States going to get people back on the moon before China does? China wants to do it by 2030. Rod thinks they're going to do it earlier for one of their anniversaries, but NASA, well, Sean Duffy, I should say, has been talking about and saber rattling about this race that we're in with to get astronauts back to the moon with China, and how we have to get there, and it's really, really important. Does Isaacman have a plan to make sure that Artemis 3 is on track, or what does he think about Artemis, the Artemis program overall? Is that the right approach? And does he think that we are in a space race and that we have to win for China, or is he telling them what we want to hear?
Yeah, well, he was asked about all of these things in that confirmation hearing or in the nomination hearing on Wednesday. And he did say, he views that this is a competition with China that we must win. I don't know. It's important for national pride, national security, that sort of thing, to get our astronauts to the moon first, to beat China to the moon. But like, again, he's bound in a lot of ways by what Congress dictates and how much money they get for Artemis and all this stuff. It's not entirely up to him, even if he is confirmed. So what passed in the big beautiful bill, which was signed on July 4th, this big spending bill, it directs NASA, I guess, or it allocates money to keep going through Artemis 5, I believe it is. I mean, yeah. So there's always this push and pull. There in the original 2026 budget proposal that Trump put out earlier this year, it said that we should stop Artemis after Artemis 3. We should get astronauts on the moon and then kind of transition to something else that's more sustainable, not as expensive, whatever. But there's always this push and pull. Nothing is set.
Congress put that money. They put that funding back in. They also put the funding back in for Gateway, right? Because I think Gateway was originally slashed.
It was originally slashed.
For the space station.
And this is why Rod, for instance, and a lot of other people think China has the upper hand in the return to the moon, because we're always dealing with this push and pull back and forth. Do we have the right architecture? Let's cut this. No, let's put it back in. Whereas China is just working on this Apollo-esque kind of lunar landing program. They're just working away at it kind of piece by piece, step by step, and don't have the same push and pull. They've got this plan and they're going to affect it. They're able to do more long-term planning without a lot of disruption because they have a very stable, it's probably not the best governing system in the world from our perspective. It's like one-party rule, not a true democracy, but the outcome of that system is they can plan over the long term because it's very stable, for better or for worse. Whereas we have all of this back and forth, push and pull, and NASA gets pulled in all these different directions. It was not too long ago that they were told to send astronauts to an asteroid, right?
Yeah.
And then
Don't get me started. You know my feelings on the evolution of the asteroid redirect mission.
And then, actually, we're just going to capture an asteroid and bring it back around. And it's just all this stuff, right?
Capture a piece of an asteroid. It was a boulder.
Yeah,
so
but then
the lamest way to go to an asteroid possible.
So they're at the whim of the policymakers, and they just have to react a lot of the time. And so it's hard for them when you see NASA's falling behind. You have to put it into the proper the perspective. They are doing what they're told to do by these different administrations and different Congresses that come in. They don't get to make the policy. They have to react to it. So it's just tough for them.
Oh, wow. Well, very, very interesting. Is he ready to scrap SpaceX's contract then? Or, there was, the day after his hearing on the Hill, there was another hearing in the House. And this one was aimed specifically at is the United States ready to beat China in space? And from what I heard, and from what Brett Tingley wrote for us on that, the answer was resoundingly no. You had Mike Griffin, former NASA chief, who was actually I think he became NASA chief, the second one that I covered when I was just a baby space reporter trying to make suborbital flights into the news. That's a really, really pained what is that metaphor? I apologize to everybody that you had to hear that, But he was a straight shooter from what I remember, from interviewing him and whatnot. And he said pretty emphatically that the plan that we've got now isn't going to work. And we've heard the same things before. We heard them in the Obama administration when the Augustine Commission looked at the Constellation program and said, hey, you can build a moon lander or you can build a rocket to get to the moon and not land, but you can't do both, which seems to be weird. That seems to be where we are now. And it just seems like Isaacman would be really inheriting still that quandary that we was dealing with for 20 years. Without a solution.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting what you're talking about, that story Brett wrote about Mike Griffin's objections. There's a faction of people who agree with him that the Starship system that NASA chose for the first moon landing is very complicated, right? It's complex. For every mission that lands a set of astronauts on the moon, you need a dozen or so refueling missions to go up to that Starship and put enough propellant into it to get it to the moon and to land on the moon and to be able to launch back off the moon again. And that's so it's not just one mission, it's a dozen missions. And whereas back in Apollo, we just had we'd launch a Saturn V with a lunar lander on the top, and it would go and do its thing and then launch off the surface. And so that's the approach that China is taking, and that's what we were talking about earlier. It's like simple versus complex. And I mean, everybody knows that if like Starship works out, if it does do what SpaceX says it can do, it'll be absolutely revolutionary, right? If it can be a rapidly reusable, fully reusable rocket, which we've never seen, that's that big and that powerful, it's going to be amazing over the long haul. It could take people to Mars and the moon and launch dozens of times per day, whatever it is. Like, but that's sort of long haul. What people like Mike Griffin are saying is, for the short term, if we really want to beat China to the moon, then we should have like a simple system that we know works quickly, like the Apollo system.
Oh my gosh, we have heard this argument before too, and we heard it in the 60s. Yeah. With Wernher von Braun wanting the long haul, like fully reusable system, that would like secure your legacy in space for centuries. It just seems like we're in this cycle, right? Because that's why we got Apollo. That was the straightforward, quick thing to beat the Russians,
right?
So
that's
what got the dollars, right? That's what.
Yeah, well, that's the basic argument, like. And people have said Artemis is supposed to be different than Apollo. I mean, Apollo was a flags and footprints program, right? It was to beat the Soviets to the moon and to show the developing world, like a lot of whom were coming out of like dependence. They're all these independent countries in that time frame, and we were trying to convince them to join with the U.S. and not the Soviet Union. We're the technological leaders, national security imperative, all that stuff. But now it's supposed to be different. We're supposed to build like a base near the lunar South Pole and learn how to extract water ice and helium-3 and be sustainable and use it as a stepping stone to Mars and all this stuff. That's how it was supposed to be envisioned. But now we're hearing the same space race talk, and we have to, but just updated for a new generation. Now it's like, well, this is a space race. We have to beat China to the moon. And that's sounding a lot like the Cold War space race with the Soviet Union. And that's just shifting what Artemis was supposed to be. So do we really want to beat the Chinese to the moon? Is that the overriding goal? Or do we want to set up a sustainable base near the South Pole? Is that the overriding goal?
Why can't we have both? I want both, right? Well, say what you will about Starship. A lot of people criticize it. And I know we've talked about it a lot on the show, Rod and I, because, it kept blowing up. But, we said that about when Elon Musk came out at the National Press Club and said, hey, I'm going to build a rocket and it's going to be reusable and I'm going to land it and it's going to fly maybe 10 times. And now he's at like 30 plus times and with no signs of stopping. If they set their mind to do something, they're going to do it. And he is the world's richest person on the planet. So they're going to figure it out eventually. And we'd probably want to be part of it and not excluded from it as a country because, it's going to be the biggest ride in town right now. So I guess we'll see how that all goes and how that turns out. I guess I have one last burning question about Isaacman. Is he going to chop up Space Shuttle Discovery and send it to Houston? Because you had another story earlier in the week from Senator John Cornyn where it seemed like he told the senator, or the senator says that he did, that he would go ahead and follow that big beautiful bill law that Cornyn and Ted Cruz included the provision to send what they say is Space Shuttle Discovery to Houston from the Smithsonian, rip it out of Udvar Hazy and mail it there, without taking it apart. When really it does say just a flown U.S. spacecraft is what it says in the bill.
It's pretty obviously Discovery. Yeah.
So clearly the senators asked him all about that, right?
Well, I don't know. We don't know. All we have is like a press release from Cornyn's camp saying that Isaacman agreed to that he's on board with it. And I was expecting that to come up in the nomination hearing on Wednesday, but nobody asked him about it. So I don't know. I haven't seen anything. I haven't looked super hard on Twitter or whatever, X, whatever, but I haven't seen an official statement from Isaacman about his stance on
I'll tell you my
move
theory.
Of Discovery.
My theory is that he was not asked about it and that it was planned that the senators would not ask him about it to not put this guy that it seems like the senators, because some of I think Cantwell, the Democratic minority lead on this committee, said that she plans to vote for him, that she had voted for him last time and she plans to do it again. He seems to have a lot of support from them, from industry, from astronauts, from the folks that would do the science too, who think that he can really do this thing, and that question is such a hot button question. that they agreed not. That's my tinfoil hat moment. They agreed not to ask him to not put him on the spot. That's my conspiracy for everyone for this episode. You know?
Yeah, I would not be shocked if that were true. There, because it is like a hot button issue, and I don't know if they needed more hot button issues.
In true Rod Pile form, Mike, I actually have like 10 other stories I wanted to ask you about, but we are out of time, and I feel like I could keep asking you about Isaacman to come. I guess the final question I'd ask those, just what's next? When could the Senate vote? I've heard as early as Monday, as we're recording this on a Friday. Yeah. It seems like the Senate wants to push his confirmation through by the end of the year so that NASA starts fresh 2026 with a new leader. What do you know?
That's what I've heard too, that they want to do. It could happen as early as next week, like a confirmation vote. And that's, I mean, there is a kind of a deadline hanging over all this. People want a permanent, or kind of permanent-ish, like, I mean, however permanent that post can be with the change of presidents every 4 years, theoretically. They like want a more permanent kind of NASA chief in place for the Artemis 2 mission, which is supposed to launch early February. They just want to have that continuity. They want to have that certainty of, okay, now we've got everything in place. So it'd be nice to have a permanent presence in the top job when this really high profile astronaut moon mission launches early next year.
That is so close. Early February.
It wouldn't be shocking if it got pushed a little bit. Early February seems like a stretch, but you never know.
I wanted to get pushed to April 25th because I want them to go to the moon on my birthday. But then I guess I'd have to work on my birthday, and that would stink. Anyway, but it'd be exciting because we're going to the moon.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have to see and leave it there. Let's hope we get a NASA chief for Christmas, everybody. And thank you all for joining us today for episode 188, the episode that I'm calling A New NASA Leader Rises. Rises? Question mark. Mike, where can we find you desperately trying to find out what Isaacman is doing to secure this bid for NASA chief online?
Oh, just go to space.com. You can find me all over the place there. I am theoretically on X, but I don't post very much. I would just go to space.com if you're interested.
Yes, also look him up on Amazon, everyone. He does have a book, and it's all about the search for life. So please check that out. You can find me at space.com as always, also on the Twitter and the X. And well, I guess it's not Twitter anymore, X. And all social media at Tariq J. Malik. You can find me on YouTube at Space Run Plays if you like video games. John and I were talking all about Fortnite and the alien conspiracy that's going on in that game. Ooh, it's really exciting. And of course, you can always find Rod Pile in absentia at pilebooks.com or at Astra Magazine, because he's the editor-in-chief there, but I want to give him a plug anyway. And remember to drop us a line here at This Week in Space at twit@twit.tv. That's TWIS at twit.tv. We welcome your comments, your suggestions, your ideas, your jokes, because they got to be better than that turkey of one that I had this week. It seems like it did not go over well. So we love getting your comments, and Rod answers every message. I promise I do see them, and I'll do my best. I'll be better. That'll be a New Year's resolution early from me. New episodes published every Friday on your favorite podcatcher. So do make sure to subscribe and tell your friends, and tell your enemies too, because we could really use every ear that's out there. And give us some reviews. 5 stars or a thumbs up will do. And thank you so much. You can also head to our website at twit.tv/TWIS. And you can follow the Twit Tech Podcast Network at Twit on Twitter. X. And on Facebook, and on twit.tv and Instagram. So we'll see you, I guess, my script ends there, everyone. So we'll see you all next week.